something happened in Southeast Asia that almost nobody in the Western press bothered to cover. In the span of just 18 months, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Nvidia, four of the most powerful tech companies on Earth, quietly committed over $50 billion to a single country. Not China, not India, not Singapore, Malaysia, a country that most people outside Asia couldn't find on a map without hesitating. So the question isn't just why Malaysia. The real question is, what do these companies know that the rest of the world doesn't? Because this isn't charity. These are the most calculating corporations in human history. And when they all move in the same direction at the same time, you don't ignore it. You ask why. Let's set the scene. We are living through the single most important infrastructure race of the 21st century. Not roads, not railways, not oil pipelines. Data, AI, cloud computing, the invisible architecture that will determine which countries lead the world economy for the next 100 years. And right now, that race has a surprising frontrunner. Malaysia, a nation of 33 million people, sandwiched between Thailand and Singapore, famous for its rainforests, its food, and its twin towers, has somehow become the hottest address in global tech investment. Here's what's actually happened. Microsoft pledged $2.2 billion in cloud and AI infrastructure. Google followed with $2 billion. Amazon Web Services came in with $6.2 billion. And Nvidia, the company whose chips power virtually every AI system on the planet, opened its first ever Southeast Asian AI center right in Kuala Lumpur. That's not a trend. That's a stampede. And this isn't just about building server farms in a cheap location. This could fundamentally reshape Malaysia's economic identity, transforming it from a middle-income manufacturing economy into a digital powerhouse that punches well above its weight on the world stage. But to understand why Malaysia, you need to understand the forces that made this moment possible. And trust me, it's far more interesting than a business headline. Here's something that doesn't show up in the press releases. Malaysia sits at one of the most strategically valuable geographic coordinates on the planet. The Strait of Malacca, the narrow waterway along Malaysia's western coast, is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Roughly 40% of global trade passes through it. Oil from the Middle East, electronics from China, consumer goods heading to Europe. All of it flows through this corridor. That geography made Malaysia a trading hub for centuries. But in the age of digital infrastructure, it means something different. Think about it like this. When a tech company decides where to build a data center, they're not just thinking about cheap land. They're thinking about submarine cable connectivity, the undersea fiber optic cables that carry the actual data of the internet. And Malaysia, sitting right at the crossroads of Asia, is a natural landing point for cables connecting East Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. It's not an accident. It's geometry. Malaysia already hosts over 24 submarine cable systems, and more are being planned. For a hyperscaler like Google or Amazon, that connectivity is worth billions on its own. Location isn't just real estate. Location is leverage. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Data centers are power-hungry. Enormously, almost absurdly power-hungry. A single large-scale, hyperscale data center can consume as much electricity as a small city. And as AI workloads intensify, training models, running inference, processing millions of queries per second, that demand is only going up. So where do you build? You need cheap power, reliable power, and increasingly clean power, because these companies have made net zero commitments and they can't afford to run carbon-heavy operations at scale. Malaysia checks a surprising number of those boxes. Electricity prices in Malaysia are among the lowest in Southeast Asia, partly because of government subsidies, partly because of the country's access to domestic natural gas. For a data center operator, lower energy costs directly translate to lower operating costs, and at the scale these companies operate, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in savings annually. But Malaysia is also accelerating its renewable energy transition. The government has set a target of 70% renewable energy by 2050, with significant investment in solar capacity, critical for companies like Microsoft and Google, which have made aggressive green pledges to their shareholders. It's the rare combination of affordable today and clean tomorrow that makes Malaysia's energy profile genuinely attractive, not just acceptable. This is the part of the story that doesn't get told enough. Because billions in investment don't just fall from the sky. Someone has to create the conditions that make investors feel safe, welcomed, and frankly, excited. And that someone, surprisingly, is Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. When Anwar came to power in late 2022, after one of the most turbulent periods in Malaysian political history, there were real questions about stability. Would the reform agenda survive? Would the coalition hold? But Anwar did something unexpected. He went on a global roadshow, directly courting Silicon Valley, meeting with the CEOs of Nvidia, Microsoft, and Google, and made a very specific pitch. Malaysia is open, stable, and ready to move fast. He backed it up with policy. The government streamlined data center approvals. It offered tax incentives under the National Digital Initiative. It invested in AI-ready industrial parks. It created dedicated fast lanes for tech foreign direct investment that cut through bureaucratic red tape. The message was clear. You won't get stuck here. 4 tech companies burned by regulatory nightmares in other markets. Europe's GDPR wars, India's data localization battles, China's unpredictability, Malaysia's "we'll make it work" attitude was genuinely refreshing. Good policy is its own form of infrastructure. But here's where things get complicated. You cannot tell this story without talking about China and the US-China tech war. Since 2019, the United States has systematically cut off China's access to the most advanced semiconductors, particularly Nvidia's high-end AI chips. The logic is simple. Advanced chips power advanced AI, and advanced AI is a national security asset. The US doesn't want China to have it. So China has been scrambling, building its own chips, finding workarounds. And this is the part that raises eyebrows in Washington, routing purchases through third-party countries. Malaysia, with its open economy, its robust electronics manufacturing sector, and its historical trade relationships with both the US and China, sits in a genuinely awkward position. There have been documented cases, reported by Reuters and others, of advanced Nvidia chips appearing in Chinese tech companies after passing through intermediary markets in Southeast Asia. Malaysia has been named as one of those potential transit points, and this has triggered alarm bells. The US Commerce Department has been watching. The question being asked in policy circles is stark. Is Malaysia an innocent bystander? Or is it, even inadvertently, becoming a chip laundering corridor? Malaysia's government has pushed back hard. They've tightened export controls. They've cooperated with US investigations. Anwar himself has been vocal that Malaysia will not allow its territory to be used to circumvent sanctions. But the tension remains. And it reveals a fundamental challenge. Malaysia wants investment from everyone. The US, China, Europe. It doesn't want to choose sides. It believes its future depends on staying out of the great power conflict. The problem is great power conflicts have a way of making that choice for you. Let's pause on the celebration for a moment. Because there's a problem that all those glossy investment announcements don't mention. A problem that could derail everything. Malaysia doesn't have enough people to fill these jobs. AI infrastructure investment creates a very specific kind of demand for cloud architects, cybersecurity specialists, AI engineers, data scientists, network infrastructure professionals. These are among the most competitive, highest paid, and scarcest skill sets in the global economy. Malaysia's universities are good. Its STEM graduates are real, but the pipeline is narrow. And for decades, Malaysia has suffered from a painful phenomenon called brain drain, where its brightest graduates emigrate to Singapore, Australia, the UK, or the US for better salaries and opportunities. The irony is brutal. Malaysia is now building the infrastructure to offer exactly those opportunities domestically, but the talent that should fill them has already left. This is the race happening in the background. Can Malaysia's education system, its talent repatriation programs, and its upskilling initiatives keep pace with the investment coming in? Or will these billion-dollar data centers end up staffed largely by imported foreign workers, delivering profit to global corporations without genuinely transforming Malaysia's own human capital? The investment is the easy part. Building the people is the hard part. If you want to see all of this converging in one place, look at Johor, the southernmost state of Malaysia. Directly across a narrow strait from Singapore, Johor has become ground zero for the Southeast Asian data center boom. And the reason is almost elegantly simple. Singapore, tiny, land scarce, extremely expensive, has been the region's tech hub for decades. But Singapore literally ran out of room. In 2019, it imposed a moratorium on new data center construction due to concerns about power consumption and land availability. So the hyperscalers looked one bridge north, and they found Johor. Lower land costs, access to Singapore's fiber networks, favorable Malaysian regulations, and crucially, the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone, a jointly administered development corridor that gives companies operating there access to streamlined rules, tax benefits, and the connectivity of both countries simultaneously. It's being called the Silicon Corridor, and it's filling up fast. Data centers are rising out of what were palm oil plantations just a few years ago. The construction cranes don't stop, and billions of dollars of committed investment are already in the ground, quite literally. Johor is the physical proof that this transformation isn't a promise. It's already happening. But here's where the contradiction begins. Malaysia wants to be the digital heart of Southeast Asia. It wants the jobs, the prestige, the economic multiplier that comes from being a tech infrastructure hub. But data centers, for all their glamour, are not job-rich facilities. A massive hyperscale data center can employ fewer than 50 people during operations. The construction phase creates jobs. The ongoing operation? Not so much. This is where the tension between short-term wins and long-term transformation becomes painful. Prime Minister Anwar has bet his economic legacy on this tech pivot. The investment numbers look extraordinary in press conferences. But economists are quietly asking, is Malaysia becoming a landlord for global tech companies or a genuine participant in the AI economy? Is it building capacity or just hosting it? And then there's the sovereignty question. When 70% of your critical digital infrastructure is owned and operated by American corporations, what happens to your data? Your privacy laws? Your ability to regulate your own information ecosystem? Malaysia is in a position that many developing nations find themselves in. The investment is real, the benefits are real, but so is the dependency. This is where government ambition meets market reality. And the outcome is genuinely uncertain. Zoom out for a moment, because Malaysia's story is part of something much larger. We are watching the fragmentation of the global internet in real time. The US and China, once imagining a single connected digital world, are building parallel tech ecosystems. Separate chips, separate cloud platforms, separate AI models, separate standards. And every country in the middle has to figure out where it sits. The Southeast Asian nations, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, are all making similar plays. All courting hyperscaler investment. All promising cheap land, cheap power, business-friendly environments. But Malaysia has moved faster than almost all of them. And it has one structural advantage that's hard to replicate. It already has a sophisticated electronics manufacturing sector built over 50 years, with companies like Intel, Infineon, and ST Microelectronics operating major facilities there. That industrial base means Malaysia understands tech. It speaks the language. It has the logistics. It has the port infrastructure and the supply chain knowledge. It's not starting from zero. It's upgrading, which is a fundamentally different and faster journey. The race for digital infrastructure dominance in Asia is genuinely competitive. But right now, Malaysia is running near the front of the pack. Now, why does any of this matter to you? Because wherever you are watching this, the digital infrastructure being built in Malaysia will affect your life directly. The AI tools you use, the cloud services you subscribe to, the apps on your phone, the speed and reliability of the internet itself. All of it depends on physical infrastructure, servers, cables, cooling systems, power grids, that has to exist somewhere in the world. That somewhere is increasingly Malaysia. If you're Malaysian, this is your moment. The kind of economic inflection point that your grandchildren will read about in history books. The question is whether Malaysia captures the full value of this moment, or lets it pass through like water through open hands. If you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or a tech professional anywhere in the world, Southeast Asia just became a place you can no longer afford to ignore. And if you're a citizen of any country, this story is a reminder that the decisions made by a handful of governments and corporations in the next 5 years will determine the shape of the global economy for the next 50. So here's where we land. There are two futures for Malaysia's tech gamble. And right now, both are possible. In the first future, Malaysia gets it right. The talent pipeline fills. The homegrown tech sector emerges. Malaysian AI startups scale on world-class infrastructure. Johor becomes Asia's answer to Silicon Valley. The country escapes the middle-income trap it's been stuck in for decades. And Anwar Ibrahim's bet goes down in history as one of the great economic pivots of the 21st century. In the second future, the investment arrives, but the benefits leak out. The data centers hum with servers owned by American companies, staffed by imported talent, serving global clients. Malaysia gets the electricity bills and the land use, but not the jobs, not the IP, not the expertise. It becomes, in the blunt language of economists, a digital colony, infrastructure rich and agency poor. The difference between those two futures is not luck. It's policy. It's education. It's the courage to negotiate hard with the most powerful companies in the world. It's the wisdom to ask not just how much investment, but what kind. Malaysia has won the first round. $50 billion says so. But the real game, the one that matters, is just beginning. So let me ask you this. If you were advising the Malaysian government right now, would you keep the doors wide open? Or would you start putting conditions on the investment? Demand tech transfers. Demand local hiring quotas? Demand data sovereignty provisions? Or does that risk scaring away the billions that are still on the table? There's no easy answer. And that's exactly what makes this one of the most fascinating geopolitical stories of our time. Drop your take in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think Malaysia should do next. If this video gave you something to think about, hit the like button. It helps more people find the story. And if you want more deep dives on how money, power, and geography are reshaping the world, subscribe, because we're just getting started.